And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I am your host, Wes Tankersley, back with another great edition. If you can do me a favor before we get started here, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button real quick here. Help us to get to 1,000 subscribers. And also, if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please make sure you share this out. Help other people find the show. I can't make this any bigger without your help. Today, we have a returning guest because the last time I interviewed him, I felt like we just kind of scratched the surface on the things that he is doing. And we have since formed a larger relationship, I guess is the way that you would look at it. We are doing quite a few things together to help kind of build Shaping Success and help build his platform, Dogged ID Media. So welcome back to the show, Wolf. Wolf K, good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you. I hope I don't look too dark and scary. I mean, it's post-Halloween. I shouldn't be that bad.
We've spent about 10 minutes here trying to work on the lighting in your place, and it's one of those things that's awesome because it's always like it's a good thing to see. Like, people are going to see this episode and we're going to come back again and we'll have you on again and it'll be a different situation because that's the way that it works. It always is evolving and getting better, and there are certain things that you figure out as you move through this type of situation, I feel like.
Well, I mean, the difference now is, of course, before I was operating out of my office and it was comfortable and lighting was great. I think it was also during the height of the summer, so all that natural lighting that, helps bring all the sparkle out was there. And now we're in the deep, dark dregs of the fall, and it's a cloudy day here in sunny West Texas.
I'm not going to talk about the feud that we have ongoing. We're not going to talk about that. I'm just going to say, if you want to know about this feud, you need to go watch on TikTok kind of the story that's evolving through certain situations that are going on. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't think we need to discuss this on this platform, but go follow both of us on TikTok and you can see what's going on.
You've had the bullhorn the whole time. I mean, I've basically laid low trying to do what I need to do to counteract this. Your comeuppance is coming.
He's just gathering data, but we're not going to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it.
Oh, so we talked last time, a little bit. Let's talk about the things at hand right now. So we talked last time about who you are and kind of what you're doing. And we know that, you have a small farm in Texas and you're kind of having to punt, if you will, because you had a bad rain season. You didn't get to grow the things that you grow to take to market this year. And so now you're starting to kind of make a shift, which I think is an awesome story. Shifting from, hey, this isn't working, what do we do? And a lot of times in life, we don't know how to make a shift. So you're shifting more into like the digital area with marketing and things like that. Tell us a little bit about Dogged ID Media Services. Is that correct? Is that what we call it?
No, that's right. Dogged
Okay.
ID Media Services. They use a word called pivot, and I hate that word because during the pandemic, of course, you were pivoting.
Right.
What's really strange, of course, is knowing that I have all these technical skills and, was raised on the internet, raised in the web, video, audio, writing, et cetera, and so forth. And this has been a really difficult pivot. During the course of the pandemic, of course, I was trying to shift everything online, but what they don't tell you on these big pivot things is you've got to have the money to be able to support it. And we're a small farm. I mean, had a family at the time, and I have a lot to try and transfer. Then you get done with the pandemic and we go through all the inflation issues. Cost of energy just through the roof. After 2 less than par years on the farm, I didn't have the cash I normally have on hand to just run irrigation nonstop. So now I'm faced with some pivots.
Right.
I like your word transition better. To try and figure out where the hell I'm going to go from here. And I had started working on some stuff before the pandemic even started. And it just kind of expedited everything. It made it so that you don't get after it in big time trouble. So when we talked in, what was that, June?
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm trying to remember that myself. It doesn't seem that long, but it's been a while.
I've slept today since then. My brain don't work. When we were talking then, I still had hope there'd be something that would allow me to get something for the fall.
Right.
And it just kept going and kept going and kept going. So I pulled the plug on it, and well over 2/3 of my revenue are gone for the year. And then about half of my income is already gone as well. And so I'm going, whew, now what? All right. So I got it all figured out, and I started looking at what I had on hand and what I could do. And among those things, of course, were Dogged ID Media Services. And of course, last time we talked about, the radio show and all that stuff, and that kind of matriculated out of it as well. But that was more of a, I don't know, I think it was just more of a hobby.
The radio show, you're looking at it as a hobby kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't look at that as a monetary option. Streaming radio isn't exactly big money.
Right.
So I was more looking at that as a source of promotion and just something to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been fun. Don't get me wrong. It has become a tool through the other things I'm trying to do. But at that point, I'm still going, all right, it's been over 15 years since you were in the media game in any form. And you have watched. I mean, I haven't been involved, but of course I've kept up with technology and software and all that good stuff. And I'm behind the 8 ball. I've got no portfolio whatsoever. I have, I don't have a name in the game anymore. And so I'm just sitting there going, well, what do I do? And, we had been talking for a little bit and became closer friends. And then we started kind of meshing our stories about what you're trying to do and what I'd like to do. And then, so then I start doing promos for you. And now I've found a couple other clients that are wanting me to do sound edits. And I've got, some writing things that I'm accomplishing. And that's just within Dogged ID Media.
It's interesting because one of the things that immediately, like these are things that as a person who's trying to do is like, I've done this podcast for 3 years. I've had my YouTube channel for 3 years. I've started doing more on YouTube, more on TikTok, more, Instagram was where it was all starting. And it just kind of seemed like it died. Like I kind of like, this is not where anything is happening anymore. And then I see you, like I have a couple things that I do. So like I do the podcast, and then my friend Jay edits it, and then he sends me one clip. And my thoughts are is that like I pay him very little. I mean, I basically pay him in bourbon. He says, "Hey, just send me a bottle every once in a while, and we'll call it even."
Because that's an option.
It's for him. It is.
Oh.
So, I mean, if you want bourbon, we'll pay in bourbon, but I think you could probably use the money a little more.
Yeah. Unfortunately, bourbon doesn't get the bills paid. So yeah.
Right. So, but what struck me was because I'm trying to figure out a way to get more clips out, right? And I can't pay a ton of money. Like I'm not making, people don't understand, like you said, when you do this, you're not making money right off the bat. If I had to say that, I don't even think that over the last 3 years, I really broke even, because you're always buying equipment. You're always trying to make it better. Right. And the idea is to make it so that it makes money. So to do that right now, what I see is I've been looking at numbers, looking at things like that. And YouTube's kind of where it's going to be. So if I get more clips out, then I hopefully will get more people to go to the long form content and watch the show. And you posted on TikTok, because this is something that I don't think a lot of people are willing to do. It's like, hey, let's talk. I may be able to do something at a discounted rate to help you out, because it's going to help us both out, so you can build a digital portfolio, right?
Right.
And so that's one of those things that people don't think about. They like, sometimes you have to do something for a little less than what it's worth for a while to show people that it's worth what it's worth, right?
That well, and in doing that, you also have to weigh out how much of a risk you're willing to take, because in order to do that, of course, I had to determine how much longer I could afford to basically work for free. And believe me, that window is very, very narrow.
Right.
But you can't, if you're, I've heard you say it on many of your posts and in your podcasts and things like that. Passion isn't something that just blows up overnight.
Right.
Passion is something you put in every day. Success doesn't come from just dumb luck. Or, with the lottery at $1.2 billion, I keep telling myself, it's just waiting on me.
Right.
Nah, it's not. But that's the thing about success too, is everybody thinks that if you just do that one thing, it's going to suddenly just burst loose. It's all the things. It's the steps and the stepping stones that you put together that build it. And taking the time to be self-aware enough to where you're at and what you need to accomplish, and then putting a plan together that is solution-oriented and not something that's just emotionally driven.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was then and I am now scared of what the potential of the future looks like. And I've had things that have kind of shortened my window. So I really originally thought I had till the first of the year, and have had some things personally that kind of shorten that window. So now I'm looking at about 50 days now, budget wise mostly. But you can't skip steps just because you're panicking.
Right.
You can't let the emotions get in the way of the truth. And as we were talking, we have similar visions. We have different approaches in a lot of ways, but we have similar visions. And you need something, I need something. Success isn't built on just one person's back. If you truly want a successful enterprise, you look to find the people that can help you. You look to find the tools that will support you, and you look to build the foundation that carries you on. And if you're just throwing bricks and hoping that there's some foundation that's going to come from that, it's just not going to work. And one of the things that really struck me was, well, I lack this portfolio. My portfolio is 15 years old. And, that's like looking at black and white movies versus the CGI of today. That's how fast the industry moves. So I had to do something. And lo and behold, people like you stepped up and said, hey, you want to do this? And I looked at it and I thought, okay, yeah, video production is one of my strengths. And not to tout my own, toot my own horn, but I take great pride in my TikToks and the effort I put into them, and sometimes the creative aspects of it and the visual impact. And I could do more, but it's TikTok, right?
Right.
And then I started thinking about it, but it's TikTok. And then you presented the opportunity to kind of build these compilations of your shows. And I thought, man, what a great opportunity. And of course, I feel like, and I hope you do too, with each one of these promos that we've been doing, the product gets better.
Right.
As it's supposed to,
Yep.
I'm sure there'll come a flop here and there. Like this show, for instance, I'm probably going to over compile it and make you look a lot better than I would make myself. But that's beside the point. Reality is you have to take these steps and move forward.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that is the biggest thing that gets in people's way is like, there's a point where if you don't have a portfolio, like you were talking about, like you can do all these things, but you've never compiled it, and you have to make that better. So like looking at the first clip, and we've talked about this, I think we've probably done 5 or 6 shows so far. And you look at the very first clip, and then you go and you look at the most current one, and like they just keep getting better. You get more ideas, you work on it, you hone it, you get to the point where someone's going to go, oh man, that's really good. I need that. I need someone to do that for me too. And then you end up
and the other
getting
part
more
of it
people to
is
see it.
Yeah, and the other part of it is you also, especially with the things that you do, because your shows aren't cookie cutter, right? One guest is not like the next. You've
Right.
got a country musician, then you've got just a general TikToker, and then you've got somebody who deals in writing, and you have somebody who deals in real estate, and you're varied because you're seeking success at all levels, and you're looking for people who define it in their own way, and that has also provided a great deal of creative flexibility, because not everybody says the same thing.
Right.
And not everybody's motivated by the same motivation. I find, it's been interesting because I listen to podcasts, right? But when I do your compilation clips, I have to get engaged in it and start thinking about, okay, is this an impactful statement that somebody might draw power from or interest in, or whatever the case may be? I just found that to be very interesting, and it's allowed a little more creativity on top of everything else. But more importantly, you kind of get to delve into a little bit of the personalities of the guests you have. Like I said, this is why this particular compilation will probably be crap, because I already know this guy. I'm bored by it, honestly. But nonetheless, you get the point. It's been exciting. It's been fun. And I enjoy doing it. And, at first I thought, man, this can take me forever. Okay. The 40 minutes usually kind of goes into about an hour and 20 minutes by the time it's all said and done, because I'm stopping and starting and clipping and copying and all that good stuff. But after that's done, the compilation itself, just like that. I mean, it's so fast.
And that's what takes the time. I mean, and that's what I don't think that people understand that. Like, you look at like Gary Vee. I was watching a YouTube this morning when I was riding elliptical, or I was on elliptical. Gary Vee is talking about, this is I make the long form content, and then I pay someone to go in and make the short form content that pushes into the long form content. And the problem is that it's not an easy job. Like, if it was something quick, I mean, I have a full-time job because that's what pays me. This doesn't. I continue to do this because, just like you're talking about, you listen to the whole thing because you're trying to find the best parts and pieces of that. And it takes a little bit longer because when you find it now, I got to clip that, put that down here, use that for later, keep going. But
then you also have to go back and compare them. Was this clip as good as this clip?
Right. Was
this impactful in this one? Does this one add life to this character? Or does it kind of make them sound like a dweeb? There's going to be a lot of that in this one. But nonetheless, it's a very tedious situation.
Yeah.
And sometimes you even, I don't even remember which one, but there was one of the interviews that I was editing and compiling, and I heard a word when I first heard it, clipped it, and thought, that'll be awesome. And then when I went back, I was like, where'd that word go? And then I realized I heard something completely different. So, that was gone.
Yeah.
But, it's all part of it. There's a lot of, in media, what people see are the flash and everybody's got that MTV generation kind of attention span. So you've got to clip and gear it towards that short memory or that short attention span. And sometimes you just get lost in the words, and it's really, really strange because a lot of the people that you've interviewed, I've grown, what's the word I'm looking for? Intimately attached to in ways that I didn't expect to when I first started doing this.
Right. It happens. I mean, the thing is that's why, and I've said this millions of times. I mean, it's funny because I enjoy, like, I can hear what you're talking about because I go through it. Like, every interview I do is something that drives me to do another one because there is something that comes from that person that helps me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this show is called Shaping Success, and I want everyone to listen, and I want everyone to realize that it doesn't matter, right? What you think success is, you have to go out and get it. And I think that that's what most guests bring to that thing is like, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm being successful. And when you listen to it, like, it's almost selfishly like, this is for me. I'm interviewing you to glean information from you for me, but I want to share it with everyone too, because I think that everyone should have the aspirations to glean that information.
Absolutely. And this kind of carries into the radio show, especially my Monday and Wednesday morning shows, the Sensible Coffee shows. Those are built around program that I'm building. And like this morning, I recorded before we came on here. And truthfully, last couple of days have been kind of hard. My son's been sick. He had an ER visit on Monday night. Things are a little out of whack, if you will, since I got off on Monday's show. And I just didn't feel like doing it.
Yep.
And when I got up at 3:00 this morning, I thought, I got to finish out that radio show. And I decided to do it for two reasons. One, having those conversations, even though I don't do what you do, which is an interactive show on Mondays and Wednesdays. I can, but nobody is apparently willing to talk on Monday and Wednesday early morning. That show, doing that show, talking about positive mindsets, how to treat our body, how to treat our future, et cetera, and so forth, it cures 99% of whatever bothers me prior to going on air.
Yep.
Because it's part of what I preach anyway. What I teach on a lot of this stuff is shift your mindset. And by doing that show, I completely came out of the funk. And, negativity is just not a place to stay. But if we allow it, we will. Success is not built on what you didn't do. Success is built on what you can do.
Right.
And within that show this morning, the second reason I did it was just simply because it's another form of the training that I preach and kind of acknowledge as a part of what we have to do to build better lives. If you don't step across the uncomfortable, and the uncomfortable is the I don't want to do it.
Right.
Let's be honest. 99% of what you face as a challenge in your life is I don't want to. And those things that you cross and beat are the things that ultimately wind up shaping, for lack of better terminology here, your success.
Right.
And I feel like in the world we're really kind of geared up towards right now, there's just too much negativity that can just sit in. I made a comment on the show this morning, something that I'd been thinking about for the last couple of days. We're not allowed to just stand in front of people, camera on TikTok or wherever, and say, I'm amazing.
Right.
Because that look egotistical,
now you're a
centered. Yeah, now you're bragging. And yet, everybody's going, hey man, be more positive. See yourself in a better light. But when we outwardly project that and say, I'm pretty freaking amazing, we suddenly get torn down for that. That's not right.
Yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I woke up this morning and I one of my family members, I'm not going to say who it is, but just someone I interact with said, I am in no way like this person. And I'm just sitting there going, why do you feel the need to compare yourself to that person? Because you are your own self.
That's
and
right.
So we sit there and we're taught that, you're taught not to be really like cocky or arrogant or, bragging about yourself or whatever, right? That's what we've always been taught. But I think what happens is we end up realizing that then we don't have any self-confidence because we can't be confident in ourselves because we're told that we can't do that.
That's right. That's right. And then we wonder why we have so much mental health issues in this day and age. The only thing that's really good about this day and age is that people are starting to understand that mental health is a key component of living well.
Right.
And that's starting to get more attention. But reality still says, if you get too full of yourself, somebody's going to shoot you down as fast as you can go.
Right.
Don't get too cocky. It's not cocky if I feel good about who I am and what I'm doing. I'm amazing. We were told very young, you are the only you in the world.
Right.
Right. How much uniqueness were we taught as kids, only to be told as adults, you're not that unique.
Yep.
And there's truth in that too.
I'm laughing,
How do
and
you
I'm
build-
sorry. I'm not like, I don't mean to like laugh at what I'm laughing at is like the episode that I put out this morning that's on the podcast right now, and I did live, is the same thing that we're saying right now. I mean, the reality is that we are taught from a young age to compare ourselves to others. And
Right.
this is how we make a judgment on what it is. And if we could just learn, I mean, competition is not a bad thing. I have no problem with competition. I mean, and I know you as a former athlete, competition is not a bad thing. It helps you to
Right.
learn to lose. It helps you to learn to win. It helps you to do all these things. But when we get to a certain age, we have to learn to compete with ourselves and have a competition within our own mind, because the reality is you're not going to be playing, the majority of us, it's a very slim chance you're going to play some organized sports. You're going to do anything like that, where it is a direct competition against yourself. You're going to get to the point where you can't do that anymore. And now what ends up happening is I'm sitting here looking at my job. I'm looking at myself as a salesman. Am I the best salesman that I can be? Am I closing deals? Am I closing deals? It doesn't matter that Joe Blow over there has got a house with, like 10 windows and I got a house with one. Did I sell that? And that's really what I have to think about, is like, if you do every little minuscule thing to make sure that you're doing the best that you can for yourself, all those big things will take care of themselves. It's just amazing.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I think what is lost in what people are thinking these days is, how do I compare to so-and-so? How do I compare to this and that and the other in my job? How can I be the best? But nobody's thinking about, how can I be the best person I can be?
Right.
We get too wrapped up in the minutia of societal perspective. It's garbage, honestly, because if we're being shaped by the corporate matters and the political matters and the societal, I don't even want to call it.
Yeah.
We lose sight of who we really are. And I think what everybody really values in those people that are truly successful is their authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
That they were able to see who they are and not give a damn who anybody else thinks they should be. That's who we respect.
Yep.
And yet, it's also the first person we're willing to tear down or throw a past problem in their face and say, yeah, but you did this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 5 minutes ago, and obviously that makes you not as good as what you've been
Right.
portraying here. We all have ups and downs. Everybody. If you are not able to ride the wave of life, then a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And that's
exactly.
the mental health problem. They become self-sabotaging. They become, they isolate themselves. The show
Right.
I did this morning on Sensible Coffee for the Hump Day show was geared towards how negative thinking impacts our physical life and does deeper damage to our social and spiritual life as well. And within that, I also gave 13 ideas as to how to change your negative thinking, how to actually sit with it. And the first idea, and of course, I've researched all this as part of a bigger project. I've researched all this. The first idea is completely counterproductive as a paradox. And the first idea is, sit with your negative. Take 10 minutes a day, make note of the things that you were negative about throughout the day, and take 10 minutes and then put it into context so that you understand where it came from, and then you can reframe it and use that negative thinking as a positive on the other end. I just watched way too many people, like you're talking about, compare themselves to others in a way that diminishes their value.
Right.
You can have feelings. They're valid. But when it's all said and done, aren't we supposed to be looking for solutions, executing on solutions? We have to eliminate the emotion to get to the solution.
Right.
Otherwise, there's an old adage that my mom used to say, don't make a permanent decision on a momentary emotion. And that's what's happening a lot in life these days for people. They're reacting and executing off that reaction rather than stopping and thinking about, okay, how can I reframe it, and be positive and with a solution that works? Maybe for more than just myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing because, you know, as you're saying that, I'm sitting there thinking about something that I said on that earlier episode too. It's like we are, I mean, you look at it like, I mean, we can sit here, we can look at you and me. Okay. You are a little bit older than me. You have gray hair. I have a little bit of a mix, right? Like those are things that like we have comparison. Like you may have a smaller waist than me. You're 6'4". I'm 6'3". These are all things that are different.
I don't know about that waist thing, brother. I don't know.
these are all things though that, you know, I mean, we talk about that. Like every single piece of DNA in my body is different than the piece of the pieces of DNA in your body. And
exactly.
Yet we go and we compare. We
try to group it down to a certain, very minimal characteristics too.
Right.
And, you're talking DNA, how many chromosomes do we have, my man?
Yeah.
That's and how many different, genomes are a part of that. And, okay, I know I'm getting scientific.
You're getting farmy on me.
Well, stay tuned, Grasshopper. We have discussion. At any rate, the reality is that there are so many things that go into making up who we are from just a pure biological stance that how is it we are so limited in our thinking? We get it down to like 3 criteria.
Right.
To compare ourselves to others. To me, that's mental waste.
Yep.
And I'm guilty of it. I mean,
we all are.
Yeah, absolutely. But like training your muscles, like, what are you up to now? 66 days on the bike?
Nice, 68.
68.
Yeah.
Just like getting on that bike, you have to start somewhere, and you had to train to get to where you're at. And, that's the thing, is you cannot create a positive mindset from staying in a negative space. You cannot create a fully evolved life by staying on those 3 criteria you're comparing yourself to others with. You need to look at yourself and say, this is what I need.
Yep.
And then train for where you need to go from that.
Yep. And I think that's, I mean, the big thing, honestly, that I think a lot of people miss out is like, I can't do this because I'm not that person. And then they never take a step forward. They never take a step forward. So you sit there and you stew in your reality, and then you're never capable of moving forward. And I think that's the biggest problem.
We've been told all our life that we're unique, and we're not willing to act on that.
Yep.
That in and of itself is, important. Create your own authenticity. Whether you have the same skills as someone else, there's still a solution out there for you.
Yep. 100%. So you got a couple things you're working on, and I think this has been a great conversation. You're working on getting an ebook out called, what is it called? The Positivity Conduit, or what's it actually called, or does it have a title?
Well, it is the Positivity Conduit. It is an interactive ebook. It will probably undergo a certain change in the name, but the ultimate part of it is the Positivity Conduit. And it's going to be an interactive ebook that is in development. My target was yesterday. Today is the 2nd. Yeah, my target was yesterday to get it released. But this interactive part, it's not been.
You're working on it. We're learning.
I'm working.
You're learning. So if you ever do another one, the next one will be that much easier, right?
Well, to be truthful, it's more about limitations of my computer than it is learning it. Although I am that, but the limitations of the computer is kind of slowing things down. It's funny how you don't think about RAM until your computer bogs down when you're trying to, push out a PDF that any other time would probably be like that. But, you're under deadline. So now your computer decides, hey, I don't have enough memory. Gotcha.
I think that it's great though that you're talking about that because again, here we go again. Here's a barrier that you have, right? So you have two choices. Give up or work with what you got and just put it out there, right? And you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
It sucks, but you can still do it. Just because you have this circumstance that your computer is older or it doesn't have enough RAM or whatever, it can get better. You can still do it. It's going to take you a little longer, but in the long run, you can do it. And that's what I like about the progression. I mean, it's the same thing like we were talking about the clips. The clips have progressed. The podcast has progressed. I have this piece of equipment here that I probably need to learn how to use a little bit better, but I'm listening I can listen to myself talk in these headphones. I can see the levels. And I know that the quality of this conversation is going to be so much better to the listener but it started out with me just using a lapel mic in my iPad. So,
oh, how far you have grown.
Yeah. When there's a will, there's a way, right? I mean, you're going to make it happen if you want to make it happen. And that's really up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Those limitations kind of helped me build some of what's going on in this book. Truthfully, this is the book I wish had been available to me 4 years ago when my personal life, be it business, family, marriage, all that stuff started kind of coming apart. These were all the things that I needed to find. And I think after doing the research and running through all the information that I found, needed to be compiled into one space so that, because everybody talks about being positive and creating a more positive life, but they don't really lay out steps as how to do it. I had to literally go into some pretty deep research. I mean, medical journals and psychology blogs and various and sundry things to find some of the most basic details for how to do it. I'm Gen X, and Gen X was told, "Suck it up."
Yep.
You just tough it out, dude. And
rub some dirt in it.
In a lot of ways, yeah. In a lot of ways, Gen X was the first to have a key component of what I'm putting together, and that's accept. You got to accept what it is, right?
Yep.
And in putting this together, I realized, man, I wish this had all been together for me 4 years ago, because where I am now might be greatly accelerated as to where I could have been.
Right.
And I think that that's why I decided to go ahead and build this book, is because there are a lot of people struggling with, they know they need to make changes, but they don't know how, or they need some, when you go mountain climbing, you need to create, your divots so you can get your clips in, right? And if you're not secure enough in where you're putting it, then you could fall.
Right.
And I think that's what's happened to a lot of people, is that they've tried to secure themselves going up a mountain. And let's face it, big life changes often require a steep climb.
Yep.
And so you've got to do the best you can to come up with a safety net along the way. And that's what I hope I'm providing with this book.
So where can people find it? How do you end up getting this book?
Well, right now, they're going to have to wait. But what they can do while they wait, I am producing certain little elements of the book that I'm putting on my Stan store, stan.store / Wolf the Salad. I'm sorry, Dogged ID. Got too many names, man.
Yeah.
At any rate, and you can find these little tools. Like, for instance, I've got 10 motivational ways to get more positive. Is up as a freebie. Soon there will be the 20-20-20 program that I endorse, which encourages 20 minutes of meditation, 20 minutes of physical activity, exercise, and 20 minutes of self-improvement or learning. And I give you the whole package together that you can use. These are little elements of the book that I'm going to share in free or cheap versions, so that people can start building the conduit. And so when all this comes together, it will be there. But those who are tier 1, 2, and 3 supporters of mine at Ko-Fi.com, which is /Wolf will get, as a tier 1, that's the lowest tier, we'll get a 50% discount on the book. For tiers 2 and 3, you will get the book for free, and all lifetime updates. Now, there are limited spots for that. So once that fills up, there will be no more freebies and no more discount. But they can get involved there now to get some of this stuff free. And part of the book will have videos. It'll have how-tos. It'll have printables. But also one of the biggest things you can get is the positivity journal that I compiled myself, that you can print out and utilize. Among the things that you'll do is you'll take a daily inventory of the 5 pillars of what I call the positivity conduit, which is first your self-awareness. Second, it's your triad of health, which is your mind, body, and spirit. The third is acceptance, accepting where you are and understanding what you need to do with that. Fourth is gratitude. And then the fifth is love and compassion, which not only extends to other people and relationships, but how you treat yourself. And so all those elements are combined in this journal that can help you on a daily basis or a weekly basis after you get to a certain point, kind of gear it all together. And all this will be available in the ebook, but you can already get pieces of it through the Stand Store. And those that are on Ko-Fi will get the updated version forever, because I intend to make this a living book, re-edited with great regularity.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that we put those in the show notes so that people can find that, and then that way you can go get the book. Ko-Fi is a good
Absolutely.
place to support you, and then if people are looking for your media service, where's the best place to contact you for that, to get you make clips and audio editing and things like that?
You can find me at Dogged ID on both Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. That's the fastest way to do it. Right now, the website is kind of in limbo. Money.
Yep.
These are easy, quicker ways. And the Instagram, I'm about to really populate with some of the work I've been doing. TikTok, I've already been kind of pushing things out there left and right on it, including the radio show and stuff like that. So if you're interested in things that help you with promotion, podcast population, SEO, writing, any number of things, feel free to get in touch with me in those 3 places.
Yeah, and you can find that stuff. Like if you want to take a look at that too, you can find, I post my TikToks all the time. The ones about the podcast are made by Wolf, and I post those on Instagram and YouTube Shorts and things like that too. So you can find those anywhere that you're looking. Wolf, I want to say thanks for taking the time to hang out with me again today. And I'm sure that this is not the last time. We're going to make this happen again, and we'll kind of pick up where you're at in a couple months here and see how everything is going once you get the book released and all those other things you're doing.
I appreciate that. And I have to catch up with Brian Sales, who apparently is a show darling and has been on 3 times at least. So I have to catch up with Mr. B, because, warriors come in all shapes and sizes, right?
They do. And that was last week's episode. You should go check that out too. So
I did.
Wolf did the whole thing over and over again. So,
Right.
All right, man. Well, thank you again. And we will catch up soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. A pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Yes, sir. All right, everyone. Well, that is the end of the show. Wanted to say thanks again to Wolf for hanging out with me. If you guys need some of his media services, go check him out. Dogged ID on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, he said as well. He makes clips for me, which are very helpful in helping me to get you here. Please make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, you're subscribing. If you're subscribing on where you're listening to, wherever you are. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.